I will finally share my story the way that it should be shared.
Welcome to MsMojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the biggest bombshells Gypsy Rose Blanchard dropped in her lifetime tell-all.
I've made mistakes in my life. I've made bad choices.
Number 10. Meeting and marrying her now husband Ryan Anderson. Gypsy Rose claims that hundreds of men wrote to her during her incarceration, with Louisiana middle school teacher Ryan Anderson standing out.
The thing that stuck out the most about Ryan's letter is not only how genuine it came across, but also how funny he is.
They started corresponding in 2020, and their connection escalated rapidly, culminating in a clandestine prison proposal during their third meeting. They got married on July 21st, 2022, in the prison where Gypsy was serving time.
I was sitting across from her and I looked at her. I just knew. It's just one of those things you know. And we had something special. We had that chemistry, and I asked her to marry me.
No guests were in attendance, but the couple plans on having a larger celebration now that she's been released. The honeymoon period reportedly ended quickly, and there were considerations of an annulment shortly after. However, as of now, the couple may be on the path to a lasting relationship.
On my way to get some cupcakes for our Friday visit. I'm excited. Can't be too much. It's a prison, so it's got to be simple, but I am trying to make this day as special as I possibly can for Gypsy.
Number 9. Gypsy's best memory. Much of Gypsy Rose's story is a mix of shock and heartbreak. One particularly devastating bombshell is that she recalls her first day in prison as a, quote, good memory.
The best memory that I have in my entire life is the day that I got to prison.
Having lived under her mother's control her entire life, Gypsy saw her sentence as a taste of freedom. It offered an opportunity to form connections and take the steps towards self-discovery that she had been denied for such a long time.
And I got to go out to the picnic tables. And I'm like, I'm free. I'm free to have friends. I'm free to do what I want.
Yet it's important to note that she's also voiced remorse for her role in her mother's death. Once confessing to People, quote, I'm not proud of what I did. I regret it every single day.
And to this day, I can't get that out of my head.
Number 8. Dee Dee's history. Today, it's recognized that Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard may have had a factitious disorder imposed on another, also known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
When Dee Dee was growing up, she had a heart murmur, and my mom kept her from a lot of stuff. She wouldn't be able to go play outside, and then I'm thinking, well, maybe that's part of where Dee Dee had got that, because she was the sick kid.
According to her brother, Evans Petrie, Dee Dee, who he claims was favored by their mother, suffered from heart complications as a child and was restricted from engaging in the same activities as other children. Some family members even think she might have been involved in her mom's death, and that she tried to poison her stepmom.
My grandfather got married to Laura Mae. Dee Dee was very upset about that happening. She felt like my grandmother was being replaced by this woman that she probably hated.
Dee Dee also seemingly misled Gypsy's father about her true age when they met, and later gave her daughter a false image of her dad.
We were only dating 3 months when Dee Dee told me she was pregnant. I was 17 years old, and I think she told me she was 21. She was actually 23.
Number 7. Gypsy alleges further mistreatment from her grandfather. As per the docuseries, when Gypsy was around 9 years old, she stayed with her grandfather and his wife while her mother recovered in hospital from a car accident. Gypsy alleges that during this time, she was sexually assaulted.
But I had a pretty close bond with my grandpa. Then one day, it just seemed to change.
However, her grandfather, Claude Petrie, countered her claims, stating that since she was around 4 years old, she had been initiating inappropriate behavior towards him, which he had to fend off.
That just confirms that I want nothing to do with him.
Gypsy confessed that it took her about a decade to tell her mom what had happened. Shockingly, her mom revealed that she went through something similar with him when she was young too.
I finally started to tell my mom a little bit, but she started to cry and blame herself, so I just clammed up, and nobody ever knew.
Number 6. How Dee Dee fabricated ailments. Dee Dee manipulated Gypsy Rose from a young age, fabricating illnesses and exploiting the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina for lack of medical records.
Dee Dee didn't have the medical records. she said they're gone because it was chaos down in New Orleans right after Katrina.
Falsely claiming serious conditions, Dee Dee's deception lacked evidence. Even doctors found no proof of the mentioned illnesses.
From a very young age, my mother had claimed that I had seizure disorders, hearing impairment. I was forced to use a wheelchair.
She also altered her daughter's appearance, attributing changes to medication. Driven by fear and a longing for her mother's love, Gypsy Rose stayed silent. Dee Dee's manipulative cycle, alternating between extreme affection and punishment, coerced compliance for love and rewards.
She would put her arm around me and hug my shoulder, or she would squeeze my hand. That was the signal to shut up.
Gypsy Rose's breaking point came when her mom insisted on an unnecessary larynx surgery, wielding her power of attorney to double down on her control over her daughter. Number 5. Nick Godejan's alternate personality. Gypsy Rose reportedly first met Nick Godejan through a Christian dating app in 2012.
2 weeks after first communicating, did we make it official on Facebook that we're in a relationship. And again, I was in that mindset that, oh, this is my knight in shining armor.
At first, she thought she'd found her Prince Charming, who would come and whisk her away from her imprisonment. However, Godejan had a history of mental health struggles and reportedly believed he had multiple personalities, including Victor, a 500-year-old bloodthirsty vampire with a penchant for violence.
That is when he told me that his alternate personality's name is Victor, that he's a 500-year-old vampire.
Seemingly, it was Victor whom Gypsy Rose pleaded with to free her from her situation. Apparently, a former girlfriend had tried to raise the alarm bells regarding Godejan's behaviors, but Gypsy Rose brushed her off as just a, quote, jaded ex.
Even though those red flags, I saw them, I ignored them because of this notion that I had found love at first sight.
Number 4. Gypsy Rose created an instruction video for Godejan. In the documentary, Gypsy Rose reveals that she created a video for her then-boyfriend.
I really thought that Nick loved me, and he was my way out.
Since it would be night by the time he arrived, the footage showcased the layout of their house and provided specific directions to her mother's room. She admitted that before the documentary, her lawyers were the only other individuals aware of the footage, apart from herself and Godejan, of course.
I made a video for Nick that's kind of like a walkthrough of what the house layout looked like, what my mother's bedroom looked like.
In the video, she's seen miming a violent action, which she attributes to a, quote, disconnection from reality fueled by her dependence on pain medication during that period. Apparently, even her lawyers were surprised by the unsettling nature of the incriminating footage.
We picked a random date, and it was pretty much the soonest possible that I could get enough money to buy the bus ticket for his transportation.
Number 3. Dealing with substance use disorder. As we just mentioned, Gypsy Rose attributed some of her past behaviors to her substance use disorder, although she does not use it as an excuse for her actions.
I just knew that it was a craving that that's all I could think about. I wanted another one.
She admits that at that point, she felt this was her only coping mechanism, but it led her, quote, down a really dark path.
It led me down some bad choices that I regret.
She says she was first prescribed medication after her mother fabricated a symptom that resulted in the removal of her salivary glands. When the pain persisted, her desperation to find solace intensified. She confessed that as she entered prison and started serving time, no one was aware of her ongoing struggles. She says she has since recovered.
I'm clean, I'm sober, and I'm not that person anymore.
Number 2, a previous escape attempt. When Gypsy Rose was about 19, she tried to escape to the home of an online acquaintance.
And he sent me a text that said, could tonight be the night that we run away together?
Despite her efforts, her mother tracked her down and lured her back home.
I see her walk in the door, and I sit up, and the first thing I say to her is, I know I'm 19, and I can be here if I want to.
Once there, Gypsy Rose describes a distressing period where she found herself physically restrained to her bed with a leash and bells monitoring her movements. Dee Dee also allegedly broke any devices that connected her daughter to the outside world and subjected her to inconsistent care.
Once she got me inside the house, she chained me to the bed. She smashed my computer and my cell phone.
Gypsy Rose asserts her mother tried to, quote, hex her to hinder any future romantic relationships. She also claims that the fatal incident wasn't the only instance of her taking extreme measures to break free.
So I really started to weigh out the pros and the cons and realizing that I needed to get out of this situation now.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. What happened that night? In a deeply unsettling moment, Gypsy Rose reveals a disturbing incident from the night of the tragedy. She expressed love to her mom, receiving an eerie response.
I remember her telling me, "What's that for? I'm not dead yet." It was so ironic.
Conflicted about the plan, Gypsy followed Gohans' instructions to hide in the bathroom and try to block out any sounds when he arrived. Despite complying, she felt torn, especially after hearing her mother's cries for help.
And to this day, I can't get that out of my head. And I wanted to help her, but I don't.
Gypsy Rose now speaks openly about her experiences, aiming to bring attention to others in similar situations and prevent them from going down a similar path. Her goal is to discourage others from seeking help through harmful means and encourage alternative assistance.
I am not the same person that I was 6.5 years ago.
What do you make of Blanchard's story? Let us know in the comments.
You're getting your chance to speak and show them how far you have come from point A to point Z.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.